κλείσουμε τη σημερινή εκδοχή του σημερινού μας πρόγραμμα. Θα μας δώσετε λίγο χρόνο. Ναι, γιατί έχουμε να ετοιμάσουμε η ομιλήτρια είναι Αγγλόφωνη, είναι η κυρία Benek Civelek, η οποία θα μας μιλήσει για τα πρωτόκολλα στο κύκλο αποστείρωσης, προκειμένου να επιτύχουμε βελτίωση της ασφάλειας των ασθενών.
Thank you very much. And good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure and honor to be here with you today, and special thanks to the organizing committee for inviting me to this great event. And I congratulate for this event because, you know, after so many time, after COVID, you know, I think it's the first time that this amount of people are here for an educational event. Okay. So today's topic will be improving patient safety by using protocols in the sterilization cycle. Oh, you just, okay. All right, there. So maybe a short introduction about myself. I'm working with 3M company for 23 years with a total 30 years in medical sector. And I am the medical liaison for sterilization portfolio in Europe, Middle East and Africa. So I have many observations in different hospitals in different countries. So then I will continue. I am the member of ISO sterilization working committees. So mainly steam sterilization, vaporized hydrogen peroxide, biological and chemical indicators. So some of the standards are updated. So I will give you some information about that. Also, I have some experience working with some countries' Ministry of Health for some quality improvement programs for sterilization. And also, we work together with societies in countries in Europe, Middle East, Africa, to also improve their guidelines in sterilization monitoring. So we are coming with 120 years experience. So with 3M, as mentioned by our chief officer, executive officer, and we use science to improve lives and help solve the world's toughest challenges. And as you will see here, there are many products in our infection prevention line. But today's topic mainly sterilization. So what you can see here, that starting from 1983, we started building on biological indicators. So we are the first biological indicator manufacturer as self-contained indicators. And of course, it's not only the indicator, but they are coming out with readers. So especially after 2003, there were more improved systems like fluorescent technologies, so you don't have to wait 48 hours, but it started with 3 hours, and today you see that it is up to even 24 minutes. So fast systems are coming, because always, again, important to remember that not the biological indicator, also it's a system with an auto reader. So what is the importance of monitoring when coming to patient safety? As mentioned earlier, the faster systems, it allows faster corrective actions if needed, not only for biological indicators, but also chemical indicators which ensure sterilization safety at every pack. Working together with sterilization units, we are very well aware of the challenges. So it's getting more challenged because we know that minimal invasive surgeries are increasing. So which means that there are narrow lumens, longer lumens, and this is hard to clean. If it is hard to clean, also it's hard to sterilize. And we, again, working with CSSTs, aware that there is a very, hard pressure on them because of, quick turnover, also the workload and the demands coming from the different parts of the hospital, not only operating rooms, but also other departments, and communication is again a great challenge. We will today focus on monitoring, and why? Because it will be a tool to reduce the undetected sterilization failures, and it's a tool to improve the quality in the hospitals, and we know that sterilization control and monitoring is the basics for infection control practices. And of course, our ultimate goal is to improve patient safety, and while doing this, we are doing it according to standards and guidelines. So it is important for hospitals to show that they are compliant to current practices. While monitoring sterilization, it's also important to know about the critical variables. So when we say critical variables, it is both for steam and for low temperature sterilization. For steam, we have time, temperature, and saturated steam, the quality steam, is the main factor, because while monitoring, we always try to see the quality in steam. And for low temperature cycles, as well as vaporized hydrogen peroxide, yes, time and temperature is there, but also it is important to have the agent concentration. If it is vaporized hydrogen peroxide, it is the concentration of hydrogen peroxide. We have to know and remember that every cycle is a distinct event. So one cycle is not similar to the previous one and won't be similar to the next one because there are many parameters. So only a new sterilizer is not the reason for success. So the water quality, the also establishment of the CSSD, the education level of the staff, they are always very important. Therefore, we have to remember that every cycle is unique, so every cycle should be also monitored. And I think we are all aware of the practices here about equipment control, everyday biological indicators to control the load, which means that if steam, for example, has the full killing ability to random microorganisms, and every pack will need an internal indicator because we always need to see if this killing steam is really taking place at pack level. And sometimes, of course, we are maybe using the pouches and reels, but when we are using wrapping materials, we need to have external indicators to show that the pack is exposed to the steam conditions or not. There is a very important standard about steam sterilization, which is called EN ISO 17665-1. So this is explaining all about the control, validation of the steam processes. And I'm in this ISO working group. It is finalized for the new version, and it will be hopefully published at the end of this year, or most probably at the beginning of next year. There are important statements here. One of them is, as you will see in this part, it says if you are using a steam and vacuum assisted cycle, you have to do the Bowie test or steam penetration test every day. So this is something coming from the guidelines, but also the standards, because guidelines are more from the field, but when it comes to standards, it tells about the minimum requirements also for the manufacturers. And one important statement is here. It says that all cycles should be monitored because, as we mentioned, they are unique. Load control is a practice which is done by biological indicators. So biological indicators are the most important tools in monitoring because they are showing the direct lethality. So we have to be sure about the killing steam. They are produced according to ISO standards. There are general standards, there are standards dedicated to steam. They define the population of the spores in each biological indicator. And the idea is there are a lot of spores resistant to steam or other modalities. If the steam in this case can kill the organisms inside this very resistant biological indicator, then it will kill the other less number of microorganisms on the medical devices. And again, the ultimate goal is to see the lethality. Most of us have seen the evolution in indicators. It started with 7 days with the spore strips, as you see in the picture. And now today it's faster with the auto readers. The national and international guidelines, they agree on monitoring the tools, the biological indicators, the chemical indicators, how often they should be used and what are the benefits. So this is something from CDC saying that biological indicators are the more closest tools to the ideal monitors because they have resistance scores and they show the lethality, the killing ability of the sterilization cycle. I put here another example. This is called AMI SD79. This is the comprehensive guideline which is used globally, although it is a US standard. It is explaining the monitoring and all about the steam sterilization processes. So from here we understand that biological indicators should be used for all the load, and especially for implants, they are needed before releasing the load. And in addition to that, for efficacy monitoring, after installation of the cycles, after maintenance, biological indicators should be used as a control. In recent years, in fact it's more than 10 years now, that rapid systems are in the sterilization units, but they become super, which means that their response time are reduced. And it has many benefits, of course. And in these systems, there is no need to see the color change because there is a technology. Whenever a spore is alive, which means that the sterilization was not able to kill the spore, then it will give a fluorescence light and it will be detected by the autoreader. So the autoreader and biological indicators, they are compact systems which give result, and when there is a fluorescent light detected by the autoreader, it means that there is a failure in the process. I would like to put emphasis on the certification because when it comes to purchase processes, tender processes, it's really challenging for the CSSD staff to search for the right product. So first of all, as all biological indicators should be produced according to ISO standards, then the biological indicators you are choosing should match with the standard requirements. So how will it be done? We know that indicators are not medical devices. Therefore, we have to search for some quality documents because we cannot make this test in our own autoclaves. All kinds of indicators like biological and chemical, when choosing them, you cannot test them in your hospital sterilizers because their tests are done in special vessels which are called resistometers. So therefore, if you try to put a few different type of products in one cycle and stop your cycle in the middle, it doesn't give you any evidence because maybe your steam is already in quality state. So therefore, the right thing to do would be to search for the quality documents which are already done by the third parties, but respected third parties. So, EN ISO documentation is certified, especially respected bodies in Europe, and BSI, British Standard Institute, is one of them. They are providing some documentation about quality and compliance, and they are calling it the CART-mark license, CART-mark certificate. But also we have another criteria. If we are using rapid systems, FDA is the only body at the moment who is releasing a protocol about reduced incubation time. So all the indicators giving results in hours or in minutes should comply with FDA. Yes. One more, again, I will repeat that they are not medical devices indicators, so we have to search for some documentation. And for BSI, which again I will show you some example of some documents, so it is for the need of to show compliance and quality. This is an example of a documentation because whenever also I visit personally the hospitals, we may see some certifications. But certifications, whatever document you have, the first criteria should be, is it an approved body? So is it really approved according to certification, or is it certified according to lab conditions? Because not always every company can produce these tests. So first of all, a quality indicator like ISO 17025, this is a standard for calibration and testing labs, because these labs have special equipment. So the document should be taken by an approved body, and that third party should have the right tools to do these tests about biological and chemical indicators. So these are important criteria. And whenever there is a documentation, in this documentation the user should be able to see all the values which are approved by the standard. So that's important to know about the giving body, who is preparing this report, how they test and what they mention on the documentation. And again, these tests cannot be done in big sterilizers. So any document telling that these tests are done in big sterilizers will not make any sense, because it is not a good tool as a hospital sterilizer to provide these results. Sometimes we receive the question, why especially BSI or British Standards Institute kite mark? Because this kite mark license is really one of the well-respected ones all around the world, because not only Europe, but Middle East, Africa, APEC countries, US and Canada, they're all looking for this type of documentation. So this is worldwide recognized type of certification. And it is showing that that particular product or indicator is meeting the standard requirements. So we see again all over Europe and world, there are some purchases, there are some tenders, so these certifications are becoming more important, because this is the right product choosing criteria for the CSSD step. And it's not enough, because I have mentioned that there is again another protocol about these reduced times. So FDA has a protocol, and you have to comply with these protocols in order to show that you are giving result in a shorter time. So I put again an example, because when something is FDA approved, there shouldn't be only a letter given by FDA saying that yes, this is the product. So something else like this here, like a report. Can you move please? Something like this report. So for instance here it says the reduced incubation time is a pass, which means that it is really a reduced incubation time biological indicator. While purchasing the biological indicators, the chosen criteria could be the standard compliance and maybe the design, because as the biological indicators are improving, their designs also should improve, because sometimes we see the same design for the different temperatures or time in the CSSDs. So one other important thing should be the selection of the autoreader, because autoreader, yes, should read what the biological indicator shows, but at the same time, they should prevent the risk for errors by human. What I mean by that, if your autoreader is requiring many manipulation, like put it in this well, change the temperature, also select the right temperature, it means that it requires more information from your side, and this can be open to error. So any type of biological indicator plus autoreader should also provide some safety features. And also, the most important thing about the biological indicator is when it is crushed, the media should see the spores, because if there is a growth, if the sterilization cycle is not able to kill the microorganisms, then the spore should grow in an environment. And therefore, if there is a problem about crushing in a wrong direction perhaps, then you should receive also some alarm saying that you have to repeat this again in order to get the right result. I have mentioned about this standard, it's important, it will be published, but it is revised, but it is also carrying the same messages about using sterilization methods. And CDC, it is also explaining about using biological indicators. And for sure, all international and national guidelines, they agree that implant objects should be monitored with an additional biological indicator, and therefore, before they get the result, it shouldn't be released to the OR. One of the mainly asked questions is how often we should use it. Standards, they don't tell you how often. They tell you what type of biological indicator will help you, but when you look at the guidelines, you can find more information. There may be different approaches. Again, the most important thing is about your resources. You know your sterilization units better than everyone, and if you see that, if, for instance, the autoclaves are not so new, if the water system is not very well designed, so it means that you will need more information about steam quality, and as these indicators provide lethality, these will be the best tools to use. But in general, when the approach is every load monitoring, for sure it will provide the highest care of the patient and also highest quality level for the staff. And again, the most important part, it will reduce the risk for undetected failures, because we are trying to monitor something we cannot see in a closed autoclave, the door is closed, and at the same time, we are killing the microorganisms that we don't see. Therefore, not only the physical parameters, but we need more data about the assurance levels. And today, we mentioned that there are fast systems, so if needed, these fast systems will provide you time in order to take the corrective actions. In some national guidelines, it is also available. I put here the AMI example. This is about the recalls. If a biological indicator is giving a result which is a fail, then the practice should be going to the last negative. If you are not using it every load, then it will be a little bit harder to reach to the last negative. Maybe the patient is discharged. So this is always, again, taking place in the recent guidelines. Therefore, every load monitoring will help you to eliminate this risk. In addition to biological indicators, we are well aware that they show us the ability to kill, but still we need more information from the pack inside, because not always we are sterilizing the same type of instruments or same type of bags. So we have textile packs, maybe at the same time we have heavy sets. And therefore we have to make sure that that killing steam is reaching inside and all sterilization conditions are met: time, temperature, and saturated steam. And chemical indicators helps us in this process. All the guidelines all around the world, they always say put chemical indicator inside, and in some of them they say even put more. Why? Because you cannot just compare a simple textile pack with a big container. So the containers filter is at the middle, and therefore it will be maybe easier to get the air out of the container and steam inside, excuse me, but the corners will be under challenge. So in big containers, it's always recommended to put more in the corners as well. This is an example from WHO. This checklist also gives responsibility to operating room nurses, because in CSSD we are well aware of the fact that we put inside before giving into the OR, we are checking with the clear side of the packs. But again, before starting the surgery, the operation room nurses should be able to check the result of the internal indicator. Kite mark licenses are also applicable for chemical indicators. Chemical indicators, they may seem that they all read all the critical variables, but the types are different. There's a standard 1114-1. It is explaining about the different kinds, different types of the indicators. If you are using an internal indicator, you have to know what are your criteria. Because, for instance, in this example, if it's a type 5 integrator, type 5s are tested in 3 different type and temperature zones under lab conditions, and their testing conditions are as challenging as biological indicators. Which means that when you use a type 5 inside your set, you have the quality information about steam. And anyone that comes to you saying that I am type 5 should comply with the standard and should be able to show that 3 time and temperature testing is done. So a real type 5 should have the quality document. It is also important for low temperature sterilization because when you look at the sterilization agent standard, it always says for ethylene oxide and for vaporized hydrogen peroxide, every load monitoring with a biological indicator is needed. Because also this time, it is as important as steam because we are searching about the agent killing. So agent is killing the microorganisms. So we have to be sure every load is assured. And for chemical the same, chemical indicators should be placed in low temperature sterilization methods. And you have to choose the best indicator by again remembering the critical variables. For instance, for hydrogen peroxide, it's time, temperature, and concentration. So any kind of indicator you are trying to select should be again compliant with standard with a document like this license. And here you see that there is the concentration, time and temperature data. So this is also important for low temperature sterilization methods. And just as an info, in low temperatures there is no type 5 defined. So type 4 is the type of indicator that is explained according to standards. And also before we finished, we have added some information about the hospital-acquired infections in Greece. I think you are aware of the data, and first or second speaker told about it in the morning. So it gives us the idea that as the sterilization is the basic level to eliminate or to reduce infections, then that should be, at patient safety side, all the tools should be used. And these are the data from National Public Health Organization research of this year, and they are aligned with the European CDC. And again, I see that in this document, the country is ranking at a low level of antimicrobial resistance and some mortality cases. But when we look at the percentages here, it says that 69.6% of the infections, they occur 48 hours after admission, and 28.6 is on the admission at the hospital. And they also break down where are they coming from. Main part is from ICU with 45.7%, 28, almost 29% is coming by also respiratory tract infections, 13.5 pathology, surgery is 8.2, and followed by pediatric, gynecology, and psychiatry. So these are the numbers that are also announced this year. So I would like to thank you very much with the references here about the main standards. Maybe also you can reach to them. And any questions that you would like to ask about the practices or any contribution that you would like to share? Nothing. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Νομίζω τελειώσαμε, δεν έχουμε κάτι να σας παρουσιάσουμε. Το κοινό είναι ακόμα εδώ. Έχουμε ακόμα περιθώριο για συζήτηση.
Για μία ερώτηση έχουμε.
Για μία ερώτηση, μία.
Ο βιολογικός δείκτης της εταιρείας της συγκεκριμένης που αφορά την 24η επόαση είναι και για τις δύο θερμοκρασίες και για τους 121 και τους 144 βαθμούς.
Θα μας απαντήσει εκπρόσωπος της εταιρείας.
Γενικά.
Ξέρω ότι για 121 είναι το τρίωρος, 24 είναι μόνο για 134.
121 έχει και ωριαίο.
Μία από ό,τι ξέρω.
Όχι, αλλά δεν
Συγγνώμη, κυρία Πρόεδρε, γιατί δεν νομίζω ότι ακούσαμε κάτι για διαφήμιση προϊόντος, οπότε καλό είναι να μην κάνετε ερωτήσεις για συγκεκριμένο προϊόν. Γιατί η δέσμευση των εταιριών ήταν να μην κάνουν διαφήμιση στα προϊόντα τους. Έτσι, εγώ αυτό που θέλω να πω πριν κλείσουμε, για τους βιολογικούς δείκτες και γιατί μιλήσαμε για την γρασιμότητα, χρειαζόμαστε τεκμηρίωση για τη δουλειά μας, χημικό δείκτη σε κάθε φορτίο, ασχέτως εταιρείας, βιολογικό δείκτη σε κάθε φορτίο, ασχέτως εταιρείας, που όμως να πληρούν τις προδιαγραφές για κάθε προϊόν. Αυτές που τίθονται από τους οργανισμούς πιστοποίησης και τους οργανισμούς τους ευρωπαϊκούς. Και αυτό γιατί χρειαζόμαστε για κάθε φορτίο, ενώ όπως είδατε το CTC έλεγε ότι μπορούμε και μια φορά την εβδομάδα. Ναι, αλλά μπορούμε να. Δηλαδή, όλες οι αποστηρώσεις πληρούν τις προδιαγραφές. Γιατί, παράδειγμα, εμείς που είμαστε μια πιστοποιημένη αποστήρωση, θα σας πω. Ένα μείον δικό μας είναι ότι δεν έχουμε δίκτυο που να μας παρέχει απειονισμένο νερό. Με αυτό θα έπρεπε να γίνεται αποστήρωση. Άρα, και δεν είμαστε οι μόνοι, αλλά έχω άποψη κατά την Ελλάδα για διάφορα νοσοκομεία. Αφού λοιπόν δεν πληρούμε σχεδόν κανένας μας τις προδιαγραφές, πρέπει να μπορούμε σε ένα δικαστήριο, όταν γίνει μια προσφυγή, γιατί ακόμα στην Ελλάδα δεν είμαστε στο στάδιο που είναι στην Αμερική, που κάθε συμβάν μπορεί να γίνει μια μήνυση, όμως και δεν έχουν αρχίσει. Θα τα πούμε και αυτό αύριο. Πρέπει να είμαστε σε θέση να παρέχουμε πιστοποίηση για τη δουλειά μας σε μια νομική.
Δεν θέλω να συμποντάρω κάτι.
Αλλά, εν πάση περιπτώσει, αν θέλει να απαντήσει κάτι δεύτερο σε κάτι.
Δεν ήθελα να συμποντάρω κάποιον εγώ.